Hello and welcome to another episode of the Couch Coaches Podcast, where we are, as of lately, all football. And we had the big super wildcard weekend. We are ready for divisional rounds next week, so we are going to jump right into it and go through each game in order, what we think. Obviously, the Niners are going to win, so that'll probably be a short discussion, but we'll go through all the rest of them and we'll see what we got here. All right, so starting with the first game, Houston versus Baltimore. Deacon Greg, I'm going to start with you. What do you think is going to happen? Houston visiting Baltimore.
Well, Houston has been a great story all year. Rookie, new head coach, rookie quarterback. But I do think that run is going to come to an end. I think it'll be a good game. I think they'll come out and play a good game. But Baltimore, I think they have a little too much, for them. I just think that Baltimore on both sides of the ball are loaded and ready to play, locked in. They had a bye. They're going to come in fresh. They already know what they need to do, and they're playing at home. I can't see, Houston going up there and beating them in Baltimore. I wish them luck. I like the young kid, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, that Baltimore weather is very different than Houston. Brother James, thoughts on Houston at Baltimore?
Well. It's going to be a good game, but Houston's not ready for Baltimore. They're not going to be able to contain the quarterback. The young guy's going to make the rookie mistakes. It's just going to happen. So I'm picking Baltimore. Probably 2 touchdowns victory.
Do you think it'll be you think it'll be close early, or do you think it'll be like Baltimore jumps on them and then Houston kind of slowly catches up and just never gets there?
No, I think it's going to be close early because of Baltimore coming off of the bye week, and trying to catch up a little bit, and then Houston's going to be playing with emotion because they're on this little dream high right now. So I think they're going to be performing early. Then Baltimore going to make adjustments, and that's when they're going to shut them down.
All right. Brother Bill, thoughts on that game?
Well, my thoughts on that game are similar to the thoughts I had on the Cleveland-Houston game and similar thoughts I had with the Green Bay-Dallas game. When you get into the playoffs, it's 0-0, and the team that controls the line of scrimmage, the team that takes advantage of turnovers, can win the game. I believe the Ravens will win, but I think the formula for Houston to win, they have a confident quarterback. They have a receiver, Nico Collins, who's, to me, shown that he's ready for prime time. The question is, can they control the line of scrimmage? I don't think that the moment is too big for C.J. Stroud. I think if the Ravens will win, it's going to be because they're just able to control the line of scrimmage. I won't be shocked if Houston goes in there and upsets the Ravens. I expect the Ravens to win, but I would not be shocked if Houston goes in there and pulls it out because mistakes in playoffs get magnified.
Yeah, I think I'm really interested to see how Baltimore, and granted, Brother James, you make a very good point. Like they essentially had 2 weeks off. So having to kind of get out of that, I see them, let's say second half. I think we're going to really see where Baltimore is because Baltimore has not been great under Lamar in the playoffs. And granted, they've never looked like this going into the playoffs, and they haven't had weapons like this going into the playoffs. So I would expect them to come out and take a young team and confuse the quarterback and confuse the defense with everything they can do. And I would be pretty shocked if they did win. But the one thing that Houston does have going for them, and similarly to Green Bay, unfortunately, is when you're young and you're trying to figure stuff out as a team, you're going to do stuff that it's not on tape. And Houston has obviously an amazing head coach, defensive coordinator. Their offense is obviously humming. I'm really interested to see how the defense handles Lamar because he seems like he's on another level the second half of the season. Like you can't really contain him, and then you can't contain him enough so he doesn't have time, and then the receivers get open and they're on the same page. And I'm really interested to see how they do it. And I think the only chance that Houston has is if they're doing something that just Baltimore did not prepare for at all. And I could see that a little bit on defense more than offense. Stroud's a stud, but there's only so much you can do on offense. if they can figure out some way to contain Lamar in that offense, that's the only way. It's going to be something that we're going to watch that and be like, how did that happen? I think it's going to be one of those kind of things.
I would add one more thing though. Think about in the past, the way that the Ravens have lost, in particular Lamar Jackson has lost, is when he's had to press. And he's had to press when they've been behind. And I'm telling you, again, you should roll back what I said last week when all y'all said that there was no way Green Bay was going to go into Dallas and beat Dallas. And we saw what happened. We'll get to, other games. But I guess my point is, when you're in the playoffs and you have confidence and you have players in the right positions and you have the coaching, it's not an upset. You just have to play with that confidence for 60 minutes and not get unraveled. And I think if it's close in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, the same thing is going to happen to the Ravens that happened to the Dallas Cowboys in the first quarter. They're going to get tight.
Dallas, the Ravens are not Dallas. Lamar is not Dak. Don't even put those two guys.
I'm not even talking about the quarterback. I'm talking about the team. When you're behind and it's late in the game and you're at home, what do we say about pressure? Who was it that said pressure makes diamonds? I said it bursts pipes. I'm just saying that.
It's a quarterback-driven league. The quarterback is going to decide that game, and I can't see Lamar letting that get. I'll give the young rookie credit. He's not going to. It's not going to be because of him. He's like I said. He stands in the pocket. He takes it. But Lamar is going to. They got way more on the line, and they got way more experience, and they're going to come and that ain't going to happen, Bill.
Okay, we'll have the same conversation next Tuesday, just like we were talking last week.
Okay.
Today. All right.
All right. So just for the record, Brother Bill, you're saying pressure bursts pipes, and Deacon Hill, you're saying the pressure makes diamonds. So Lamar's going to be a diamond. He's not going to let the pressure get to him with that big fat contract and the whole weight of the city on his shoulders.
He's been through the fire. That how he's been through that fire. So no, he's not.
Yeah.
All right.
Or he'll be.
Y'all just don't want to see Baltimore.
No, it has nothing to do with it. Has nothing to do with who the Niners are going to play in the Super Bowl. I'm just telling you, it's a second season. Anything's possible. Every team has a chance to win the game.
You are exactly right, Bill.
That's a great lead to this next game. So all that applies except for this one. Niners hosting the Packers. Brother James, tell me how the Niners are going to win.
I'll tell you how the Niners are going to win. Well, they're gonna have to play. They're gonna have to play ball. I mean, the issue with the Niners is, in my opinion, is a lot of times when they come in and they like getting into a little baby team, like you said, little kiddies come to Santa Clara, and they take them for granted. Okay, not saying that they don't be prepared for them, but they just take them for granted, and so then they get snuck. I don't think Green Bay is good enough to all out beat the Niners. I think it's going to be a deal of if about turnovers. If the Niners turn the ball over, it's a done deal. But I would say that the Niners are going to win. The only way that Green Bay is going to beat the Niners is going to be turnovers.
And by turnovers, you're focusing. Is it mostly on Brock, or are you thinking?
I'm talking fumbles. I'm talking interceptions. I'm talking turn the ball over for 3 and outs.
Okay, Brother Bill, thoughts on the game?
Same thing I think that I said about the Ravens and Houston applies to this game. The way Green Bay beat Dallas is they were aggressive from the gate. They won the coin toss, but they wanted the ball. They were confident that unconventionally, where most teams would defer because they want the ball to start the second half, they said, no, we want our offense on the field. We want to go down. And what did? They scored. And right away, they had the advantage. They were up 1 possession. The way I see the 49ers Green Bay game going is just to echo what Brother James said. Turnovers, because you only get so many drives in a game, and you only have 1 chance to do it in the whole game. Each time you turn it over, that's 1 possession that you lose that opportunity to score. And depending on field position, whether you're in the red zone, that's points you give up, or if it's in your end, then you give the other team the short field. So the way the Niners can get beat is if they don't bring their A game, if they lose a line of scrimmage on both sides, and they turn the ball over. Will that happen? Don't know. If they take care of the ball, if they play their game, and if Green Bay plays their game, I believe the Niners will come out on top. But mistakes are going to throw the game either way. I'm not too naive to think that the Niners can't be beat. No way, no how. Seen it before, unfortunately, in the playoffs.
Deacon, thoughts on our Niners winning?
Oh, Bill, that was so just lovely of you, Bill. I'm not saying that they. I'll say this: it's going to come down to the running game. If the Niners come out and run that ball, if McCaffrey's on fire and he's able to gash Green Bay, it's going to be a wrap. Green Bay ain't gonna be able to stop the Niners. So I'm going to bank everything on the running game myself, and on the offensive line, whoever controls the offensive line. If Green Bay, they got a little bit of a running game, so if they can get their game going, but I'm banking it all on the running game. But if the Niners come out and run the ball, if McCaffrey's on fire, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
I would say one more thing too. I think the difference maker in the game, McCaffrey is a given because of the matchups, but the other person to watch is Deebo Samuels, because if you look at his record in the playoffs, from the first time he made the playoffs, he's been a playmaker in every game. He's made more positive plays than he's made negative plays. So the key is to get your playmakers. I mean, because you don't know what's happening in the passing game, depending on how well the Niners can pass block. But Deebo and McCaffrey, get those guys the ball, upward of 30 times, Niners should be fine.
That's why I say a McCaffrey, because if McCaffrey's running that ball, everything else is going to open up.
True.
Debo's going to open up. All that's going to open up. So
right.
If he's not running that ball, then we're gonna have to see what Purdy could do. Could he beat you guys with his arm? And I don't know about that. But it hinges on McCaffrey running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I want to see what they do with our pass rush, because Bosa should be getting in there, but they virtually eliminated Micah Parsons, which is kind of what we did to Dallas when we played them. And so what's their game plan for granted, we're coming from both sides. Chase Young is not exactly like the stud I think we thought he was coming into the league, but he's still a solid end. Are we going to be able to get to him? Because if we can mess and he's playing fantastic, like since probably about Thanksgiving, they have a ton of their receivers are super fast and very good. But if he doesn't have time to get the ball to them, that's good. So it's like, what's our defensive line going to do? Because everybody we face from now on is going to look to see how they handle the line too, because Bosa and Chase Young can be a nightmare for quarterbacks not so much like Young, but quarterbacks like Goff, who will most likely face next week.
If we shut down their running game, then Jordan Love's not going to beat us. It goes back to what Greg said. Whoever runs the ball, I think it goes both ways. The running game for both teams is the key, because if they become one-dimensional, they're going to play in the hands of that defense. And I think Green Bay secondary has issues, but the Niners secondary also has issues. I mean, they're vulnerable. So the key is the running game for both teams.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
What's this chatter I hear about you guys? The fans are all turning on Chase Young. They're like, he's been lazy and he ain't doing nothing, and he's not getting double teamed, and he should be doing way more. That's the typical Niner fans I've been hearing this week.
We demand excellence out here. It's not like Las Vegas where just kind of anything goes. We demand excellence.
Hey, Greg, hey, don't worry about the Niners. Let's worry about the Raiders.
Hey, yeah.
Oh my God, y'all need to get up off my team. Yeah, we're not in the playoffs, but y'all ain't got to keep kicking them when they down. All right, you cowards.
All right, next game, Brother Bill. I'm going to start with you. Next game, Tampa, Detroit. So me and you both picked Tampa to beat the Eagles. I didn't think it was going to look anything like that. I don't know if that changes your feeling on Tampa, or if it was just Eagles suck so bad that it made Tampa look pretty good. Thoughts on Tampa at Detroit?
I expect that to be a close game, and if Jared Goff, his vulnerability is guys in his face, as you can say with most quarterbacks, but where he's made mistakes is when with pass rush. And what is Tampa going to do? They're going to blitz probably upwards of 55, almost 60% of the time. I mean, and I think they're going to come after him, because that's what they did with Philly. So I expect Detroit to win, only because I don't believe Tampa Bay has enough offense. For 60 minutes, Detroit has more offense. But I think the formula for Tampa Bay to pull out that win as an upset is to force Goff to make mistakes. They're good against the run, and so it'll be interesting to see what Detroit running game does against that front four for Tampa Bay. I'm picking Detroit to win, but I think it could be. I mean, I think they were only favored by 3 against Philly, and I thought that could either go the other way, and you saw how that went. Detroit, I think that's gonna. I expect that to be a dog fight for 60 minutes. To be honest, I don't see Detroit pulling away and just running them off the field.
Deacon Hill.
Well, I agree also. It's going to be a good game, but I'd also pick Detroit to win the game. Philly is a train wreck. I misjudged them the whole time. I just, I thought that they would at least bounce back, but Detroit is going to be a whole different game. Philly has so many issues going on. They had a couple of their key players out anyway, but there's something internally going on in Philly that, that a lot of us don't know about. But yeah, Detroit don't have that issue, and I think Baker Mayfield is a great story, to do what he's doing. But I think that's going to come to an end when they go to Detroit. Detroit is a solid team. I mean, that was a good game with the Rams, but Detroit they keep hanging in there. They play good defense. Goff, he's proven himself. I don't think you're saying that if they stop the run or they get in his face, he's been able to move out of the pocket, make plays out of the pocket. So I think he's just going to handle his business, and Detroit will handle their business.
Do you expect it to be close?
Yeah, I think they ain't going to put up a whole lot of points. I don't think either team, ain't going to put it. I think it would be no more than a touchdown. It'll be a close game. It won't be a blowout.
Brother James, thoughts? Bucks and Lions.
Well, I concur with the other two, Deacon Hill and Brother Bill. But my concern was Baker Mayfield. He's nursing those ribs.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a very accurate quarterback. And he's a quarterback that can beat you with his arm. He has enough weapons to beat you with his arm. Even if their running game isn't stepping to T, he can still beat you with his arm. But however, Detroit is solid in the secondary, and so I'm going to go with Detroit, and it's going to be close. I mean, it's probably going to be like a touchdown difference.
Okay, yeah. I think Vita Vea is going to be a nightmare for Goff the whole game, and my feeling on it is I think it's going to be a very, very intense environment. I mean, everybody from Detroit that's ever lived in Detroit or looked at Detroit was at the game the other day. I think it's going to be this. I think it's going to be even bigger. I think it's going to be a very tough environment to be in. I see Baker having a tough day. I see that defense being very, very active. I see him kind of making mistakes, even though he has elite weapons. I mean, Mike Evans made Johnny Manziel a superstar, and Johnny Manziel's terrible. So I think, but I think they're gonna mess with him enough, and it's gonna be a tough enough environment that Detroit I think their defense is gonna overwhelm Baker. But I do think Goff will have a couple issues because I think Vita Vea is gonna be. I mean, Vita Vea is like the Buccaneers are the only team that stopped the tush push 2 times this year. And that's because Vita Vea's gigantic, super strong butt was right in the middle there, pushing that line right back.
Yeah, but he's more of a run stopper. I can't see him, he can get after you a little bit, but he ain't gonna be chasing you around too much. If you run at him, you ain't running at him, but he ain't gonna run at you. He ain't gonna run to you either.
Yeah, I felt like last night the Bucks, points wise they killed the Eagles, but I felt like if they were playing a better team, I felt like they were making enough mistakes or not playing as solid that a better team would have made that game a lot closer. I kind of felt the same way about the Bills and Steelers. I feel like if the Steelers were a better team, the Bills were kind of allowing them to hang around too long. And if they were a better team, it would have been, not that the Bills wouldn't have won, but it would have been much closer. And I kind of felt like that. The Eagles they're just such a disaster. And there's no way Sirianni is the coach next year. And there's no way Matt Patricia coaches ever again, even at like the high school level. He's terrible. And I think they're going to be fired up, but I think that Detroit's going to get them by, they'll get them by a pretty solid amount.
One thing I forgot to mention is that Tampa Bay, the way they're built, they ran the ball 29 times against Philly. If they do that against Detroit and they're successful at it, Baker Mayfield doesn't have to win the game for them. I mean, they threw the ball 36 times, they ran it 29. So we talk about, if he makes mistakes, a running game is a quarterback's best friend. So if Tampa Bay's able to run the ball, again, it's the same formula I think for every team, control line of scrimmage. Tampa Bay's running the ball and they're successful at it and they can stick with it, they can pull it out.
Yeah, I don't see Detroit. I don't see Detroit's offense putting up a low enough amount of points for them to be able to run the ball 30 times. I think their offense is too good. I think they'll make mistakes. I think Goff will be gotten to a couple times, but man, that's a really good offense in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Not the same when they come to San Francisco. And, Brother James, I'm going to start with you. The last game, which is what an epic way to end an awesome playoff weekend. Kansas City at Buffalo.
Oh, well, Kansas City is our rival.
Rivals a stretch. They're in your division.
Well, no, they are a pain in our butts. But anyway, I'm going to go with Buffalo. I just don't think that Kansas City is playing unified enough. They're not playing as a team as they have been in the past, and I don't think their defense can contain what Buffalo's bringing.
That's a big old quarterback to stop.
That's a big old quarterback, and he's not scared to take a hit. He's not scared. He's not scared to use his legs. Just like that last game, he went for 52 yards for a touchdown. So I think their defense will have their hands full. And with that saying, that means Patrick Mahomes is not going to be on the field long. I think Buffalo is going to dominate the time of possession. So,
Deacon Hill, thoughts on the game?
Woo, wow, that's going to be a good game. I don't think it's going to be Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. Kelsey is still Kelsey. So those guys are gonna do what they do. Man, I'm gonna go with Buffalo though. I think Buffalo is gonna pull it out, but this is one game I think that can go either way. And it's that I'm not counting. Boy, almost don't even want to make a pick on that one because that's gonna be a tough out for either team. Because we want to look at Buffalo, but Buffalo, if you look at the way they were playing earlier in the season, they were not impressive at all. They kind of turned it around a little bit, but that game, Pittsburgh has too many holes, has too much. They don't have no offense. They don't even have a running game or passing game. So I can't put a whole lot of props into what I saw last week. Like you said, a better team would have done. That would have been a whole different game. The way Pittsburgh was hanging in there, with Buffalo and that. So. This game is going to be a pick 'em for me, but you can't just be a pick 'em. So I'm going to go with Buffalo, but that's a tough one.
Yeah, Brother Bill.
All right, same thing like last week. Once again, no one just wants to look at the matchups. Kansas City's defense is better than Buffalo's defense. The quarterback position is a wash. The running game is going to be the key. If James Cook can run the ball for Buffalo effectively, then Buffalo wins. But Isaiah Pacheco for Kansas City is no joke. And so I see that if Kansas City does what they done in the playoffs, now granted this is going to be the first time Mahomes has been on the road in the playoffs, but you still got Andy Reid, you still got Steve Spagnuolo and that defense. I'm going to be the odd man out and pick in the upset of the weekend, Kansas City to go in there and end Buffalo's season yet again.
Woo.
All right. And I'm going Buffalo. Because for whatever reason, I don't know why, for whatever reason, Josh Allen seems to be very comfortable against a team that win or lose, he seems to always look pretty good. And I don't know why he looks terrible against other teams. And Kansas City has a great defense and a great defensive coordinator, but there's some sort of a comfort level with him playing against this team, having him at home. I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be like 24-21 or, 21-20. I think it'll be a close game. I can't see the way the Chiefs are playing, unless all their receivers start playing the way we thought their receivers were supposed to be playing, and Mahomes can just chuck the ball all over the place. I think Allen's going to do absolutely everything he can, which could be an issue because he tries to do too much. But if he stays in his lane enough to where he's not just like flinging the ball, trying to get a touchdown on every play and kind of just tones it down a little bit, I don't see how they lose with the way Kansas City's been playing and Buffalo at home, the way Allen plays against this team. I see Buffalo. If Kansas City does win, I think Kansas City will go to the Super Bowl.
The way Buffalo loses is what you just said. If Josh Allen tries to be the hero and makes a mistake, Buffalo's going home. I mean, you're playing too good of a defense to think that you have to do it all by yourself. And it's okay to punt the ball if you can't convert it on third down. Just don't make the mistake. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, he's not going to be running 54 yards per touchdown on Kansas City like he did against Pittsburgh. I would tell you that's not going to happen. I'm not against that front four.
And that may be, with you talking about the running game, that may be Spagnuolo's thing is just make sure that we shut down Cook, because Allen he's going to make some mistake. He'll throw at least one pick. But if Cook can run, that just opens up all the lanes in the middle of the field and everything else. It's going to be a good weekend. I'm pumped on it. So we have a few minutes left. I put this out on my Facebook thing and nobody really responded, but I think it's because of what happened in Dallas. You have a high profile coach, you have a very high profile QB. The offense wasn't terrible except Dak's mistakes. The defense was awful, which was a surprise, which makes me think he's going straight to Seattle, and he's been putting together his coaching staff and not focusing on the game. If you have to pick one. You're Uncle Jer. Are you going Dak or are you going McCarthy? One of them has to go. Who do you move off of? Brother Bill, I'll start with you.
Head coach Mike McCarthy.
Why?
Because the roster, the way it's been constructed, you gave me a choice of either one. To be honest, I think it ought to be a defensive coordinator. But this was the one time that their defense looked this bad in a while. And so it probably won't be DC, but to answer your question, because this is the third time where not only has the team appeared to not have been prepared, but they haven't made the adjustment. And Mike McCarthy fired their previous offensive coordinator because he wanted to call the plays. And this is so he got what he wanted. He wanted to be in charge of the offense. And this is what the offense has done all year. They looked good against the bad teams, but coming up against a tough team, they didn't look good at all. I put that on the head coach. Not to say that the quarterback shouldn't go too. If I had my druthers, I would send them both packing, but I think the head coach definitely should go. Dak
is $55 million next year. 55. That's a lot.
And the reason why I say that is because I think there are more available good head coaches than there are available good quarterbacks now.
For sure. Deacon Hill, who's got to go?
Well, I agree with Brother Bill. Dak. He earlier in the season, wasn't he in the conversation for MVP for a little while? So the coach didn't make adjustments. That's it comes to, and they were talking about it. I heard Shannon Sharp talking about how the tendencies are when they run their routes. He's locked on CeeDee Lamb, and they and so the defense figures it out. They don't even guard the other guy. They just go after CeeDee Lamb, double him. That's why he was getting those pick sixes and things like that. So at some point, the head coach, the offensive coordinator, they need to try. They got to make adjustments on that. Like you said, there's not a whole lot of work. Who's going to replace Dak in Dallas right now, and you're going to upgrade you in that position? There's a whole lot of coaches out there. A lot of vacancies out there, and there's some good names out there. So, and McCarthy, he didn't do much in Green Bay once Aaron Rodgers started going down. What did he do in Green Bay? They ended up they ran him out of Green Bay. So he wanted to call his plays like Brother Bill said, and he said that they were going to run the ball more. They didn't run the ball more. They ran the same plays that the other coordinator was running. So yeah, I would move on from the head coach, because there's not a whole lot of good quarterbacks out there anyway.
Brother James, who's got to go?
Oh, the coach. Like I'm just echoing everything they both said. He don't make adjustments. It's his job to make adjustments. He sees something wrong. Okay, well, we need to change it up. We need to give the defense a different look of offensive scheme. And so yeah, he took the offensive coordinating job and then the head coach job, put two steaks on his plate. Now he's got to go now because of that, because he just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, I agree. I would fire everybody if I had the choice. But with Dak being so expensive and him being like he's a good quarterback. I mean, he's a great regular season quarterback. He's not a good postseason quarterback at all. So it's like, I'm going to pay this guy $55 million next year to have a good season, to be runner up in the MVP, and to suck in the playoffs. I would have a really hard time with that. Granted, who do you replace him with? Who knows? I mean, and the coaching thing too. There's a lot of great coaches out there. Do they want to work for Uncle Jer?
If they move on from Mike McCarthy, Dak stays, they get the right head coach. I don't think they're going to get Bill Belichick. I think
he's going to the Eagles.
Right. But with the right head coach, if Mr. Jones thinks that that's the formula to get them another Super Bowl, I mean, he's 81 years old, right? $55 million for him isn't the issue.
It's a hard cap, though. That's the problem.
Sure, but assuming that the other parts of the team, he thinks that they have all the other pieces that he needs, and he needs to get better play calling and keep the same guys, run the ball more again, because I mean, it's not that, Dak has always been an issue in the postseason. It's because they don't run the ball enough, then all of a sudden he has to do more than he really needs to. So with a better offensive system, Dak takes some of the pressure off of Dak. I say all this to say, get the right head coach. If that means, if that's the key to win a Super Bowl, then that's what you do. Because the NFC East is wide open. We saw what happened with Philly this year. I don't think you have to worry about Washington. I mean, they got to find the coach. They have a quarterback. Same thing with the Giants. So it's a 2-horse race in the NFC East.
Yeah, Washington will be coming up though. I mean, having Peters as their new GM or president or whatever he is, he's gonna put a team. It'll take a while, but
Right.
they'll be relevant down the road a little bit. So maybe like the Detroit offensive coordinator go to Dallas as opposed to one of these other openings. Like I can't think of like who's the dude that's going to go in there and take Dak to that next level. But is the
Detroit OC interviewing? I mean, I know he can't because they're still in the postseason, but have there been talks about him?
For sure. I don't know about not Dallas specifically, but as for a head coaching position.
Oh.
I mean, they were looking at him last year. I mean,
Okay.
they were, but there's so many openings,
right?
That, I mean, he could have his pick, and there's a ton of weapons in Atlanta. So if Bill doesn't go to Atlanta, if Bill goes to Philly, and coaching is going to be pretty sweet this offseason.
Who's a quarterback in Atlanta? Atlanta don't have a quarterback.
They have nothing. They have a bunch of weapons, and they have no quarterback.
Ritter was a starter for a while, and then they benched him and went with some other guy. Yeah.
They were a mess. Titans are open. I mean, there's so many openings. But yeah, a huge game this weekend. Cannot wait to watch the games, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the Niners in the NFC Championship game.
Well, I just want to ask this question to Brother Bill.
Yes, sir.
Would I be seeing you at church on Sunday? This is a Saturday night game, right? The Packers and the Niners. That's a Saturday night game.
Affirmative.
Okay, so I see you on Sunday.
You will see me on Sunday. Yes, if you're there, then you'll see me. If you don't show up, because you don't want to hear me talk about the game, after service, then that'll be on you. I can't control that.
Okay.
Okay.
See you Sunday.
We're gonna be there running our mouth about us winning the game. That's what we're doing.
All right, yeah.
All right, guys. We will see you next Tuesday.
All right, brothers. Have a good one.